What does that mean?
Absorption rate is basically the rate of, well, selling out the inventory. How many houses are available compared to how many houses are selling, how many months of inventory do we have, or how many, properties per month are being sold. So that's a good indicator of, how the market's, what's driving the market.
Yeah.
Are we in a buyer's market, a seller's market? Back in 2020 to 23, there wasn't many listings at all because you couldn't keep them on the market. Now it's a little bit of a different market. It's a little more normal. And that's what that absorption is how
March of
quickly we're selling those
22.
out.
March of 22, how many active listings do you think there were? I think that's the high water mark as far as low inventory.
And how many are there now?
No pun intended. Hillsborough County, 6934 active.
69.
March of 22, how many actives were there?
22, I'm going to say closer to 20,000.
There are 1,118 active.
1,100. Wow.
Yeah, 1,100. So it's the other way, right?
Right.
So it's less inventory.
And what's funny is now everybody talks about how bad the market is. No, that just wasn't a correct market.
Yeah, it was irrational exuberance.
Right. That's almost like, cars being worth $50,000 or $500,000 for a Honda Accord.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because there weren't any out there. That's not normal.
Yeah, you're overpaying in a sense. You're paying sight unseen.
Yep.
And the good thing though that it wasn't the irrational lending and crazy lending that we had that really caused that '06 meltdown, that '08 to '06 to '08 meltdown.
There was 608. That was also there was a lot of odd mortgages you could get.
Mm-hmm.
You could get a HARP loan and borrow 120% of the value of your home.
Yep.
Why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Like why? It didn't make sense. So much was going on that didn't make sense. I remember I was working for JP Morgan Chase, helping them with repurchase demands from Fannie Mae. And I can remember a loan going through where, the borrower was a substitute teacher or a bus driver claiming they made $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
Because they had stated income.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to show them how much you made. You just told them, I make whatever.
We had all those loan programs too.
Yeah.
I worked at Argent Mortgage, which was the wholesale side of AmeriQuest, one of the top 10 largest lenders in the world. And I remember when they first had the first payment default, when they had an uptick in first payment default. So as a lender, that's the worst thing. That's your kryptonite right there. That's like you do not want to see defaults, much less that first payment default. That means they strategically played you to get a loan,
get the money,
and then default on it, and then they're going to file bankruptcy, and then they're going to stretch it, and they're going to collect rents, and that's when the whole loan modification gimmicks came about. Remember that? Yes, but anyways, a little bit of a bunny trail there. But let's get back to right now, currently in Hillsborough, we talked about a 25% absorption rate.